Because they are active in research, they are mostly addressing the research part. And they have been different meetings, like in NUST we have corporate advisory council meetings every year, twice. And we discuss with the industry that, how they can help us, how they can come forward to implement those things. But as you said in your presentation as well, that our industry lacks the confidence on the university. Okay, the university, they can publish in good journals because they are confident about their research. But to reduce this gap, this kind of activities like we have arranged today, it is there to reduce the gap between the industry and academia. Once we have this gap reduced, I think it will be very good that we will see IPv6 implementations in campuses and overall Pakistan. If any other university wants to add something, Dr. Jay? Are you following Mr. Aftab?
Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad Adeel from Arid Agriculture. My question is that you said we have lack of funds and other things. Then why government are not supporting us in implementation of IPv6? Mr. Aftab?
Well, I represent a service provider sector, so I can say we are doing our best to invest and to provide infrastructure capability for anybody who is willing to come and invest. So I guess if somebody from Ministry of IT or HEC or fund can comment on that, Adnan, I would really appreciate that if you can ask somebody.
We have Iftikhar
from the Ministry of IT.
Yeah.
Mr. Aftab, this is Iftikhar from Ministry of Information Technology. We are working with NUST. Recently, we proposed a project on IPv6 test bed as a model in NUST University with a cost of 21 millions. This project is funded through ICT R&D fund. It is one of the subsidiary of Ministry IT. We hope that we will cope with this transition. And there is a message from the government. We have a project subsidiary, ICT R&D fund. If any student, any organization, any academia want to do some research work, they submit their proposal.
Do you have any more questions here, or shall we go to the next talk? We also have a demo about the implementation and testing of IPv6, and our team is going to present the steps there. So the colleagues who wants to go through the steps, they can wait till 3 o'clock, because after 3:30 or 3:15 we will demonstrate and show you the configuration of devices. Because we are running a bit late, I will just tell you quickly that plan for today is that at 12 o'clock we were supposed to have Majid sessions, which is going to start in next 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll take a break for lunch and prayer at 1 o'clock, and we'll resume at 2 o'clock again with Majid Saab, and that session will continue till 3:15. And after 3:15 we'll have a session with Dr. Adnan about research and development in IPv6, and before 4 o'clock we'll take a break for 15 minutes for Asr prayer, and at 4 o'clock we'll start this demonstration and the testing, which is carried out by a team here led by Mr. Imran Chaudhary. So are we now clear about the program for today? So Aftab Sahab, I'll thank you for your time today, and if you want you can continue to listen this feed here. And now I'll invite Majid Saab. So let me introduce Majid Saab first, because Majid Saab does not require a formal introduction, because it's been a very good supporter for research and development at NUST. Mr. Majid Siddiq has rich and diverse networking experience for more than 15 years. He also happens to be the first CCIE certified from Pakistan. In the past, he has been instrumental in setting up the National Internet Gateway, which is PI, Pakistan Internet Exchange. That PI connects major bulk of Pakistani ISPs. He is currently employed with Cisco Systems as Manager System Engineering. So I invite Mr. Majid to enlighten us about IPv6. Mr. Majid.
pure technical session, and it's not easy to handle 128-bit address space. And I'll try to see whether I'll be able to successfully deliver some information about IPv6. On the remote side, you can see my presentation. This is the agenda that I have prepared for today's talk. I'll not go into details of IPv6 driver because we have already done that. So I just have one slide, so I'll briefly point out a few things. I'll try to spend most of my time on IPv6 addressing header and basics. And I strongly believe that if you understand the header, you understand mostly the protocol. You need to understand the headers if you really want to understand any protocol. It's not just IPv6. IPv6 address allocation and configuration. So there was a question of how you can configure IPv6. I'll try to address that question as well during my presentation. Then I'll go through IPv6 routing. What do we need to get the routing functionality going with IPv6? And what are the deployment options available? We'll briefly touch few of them because I don't believe we will have time to cover much of this in detail. Now Q&A, so I wasn't expecting that we will have a remote audience as well. So my style of presentation is a bit different, and I like to have an interactive conversation with you. And I like to ask too many questions. I don't want to believe in one way delivery of a speech, and unfortunately this remote session is not going to help me much today. But I still want to try the interactive session and see if it goes well, then we'll continue it. Otherwise, we'll change the mode of one-way delivery, right? So I'll encourage the remote participant to ask any questions if they think that I am speaking something that is not getting to their level, then obviously they have the right to ask the question. Then and there. We don't want to wait for the Q&A session at the end. Okay? And I'll also like to ask the questions while I'm presenting. So you have to be ready for this as well. Okay. So need for IPv6, we have already discussed that what cause. So I'm not sure how much of the conversation that I had has been gone through remotely. So I'll try to make this session interactive, so you have to be ready for the questions that I am going to ask, and I am expecting the same from you as well. And if this didn't work out, then we will change the mode. So we'll go to the question and answer at the last end of the session. So why do we need IPv6? Brief history, and the only compelling reason is more IP addresses. Okay. So with IPv4, the address space is 32-bit, and we only are limited with 4 billion hosts theoretically. So it's not practical; it's theoretical. Okay. As of August 2009, so I was browsing the internet to prepare for this session. So I came to know that 10.9% of the IPv4 address space is remaining. So we have consumed almost 20% of the address space, and this is what we have left as of last year. So right now it's even worse. So when IPv4 was designed, it was an experiment, and they were not expecting it to be that much successful. But fortunately or unfortunately it was. So now we are having this discussion that we don't have that many IP addresses, right? And the challenge that we are facing today is that it's not just the computer or the PC that I have in my home or in my office or in my school that is need to be connected to internet. So IP is everywhere, right? So I have a smartphone. There is an IP address assigned to it. How many PCs we have in Pakistan that needs to access internet? So any idea? Maybe few thousands, maybe few 100,000. Okay, how many phones we have in Pakistan? So 110 million SIMs, right? So we have almost 60% penetrations. I agree that we don't need IP address on 110 million. Otherwise, we will go into would have gone into IPv6 a lot earlier. Right? So only the one that needs access to internet, they need IP address, right? Okay. 3G will happen. I'm expecting that either 3G or 4G in Pakistan will happen, and then most of the handheld smartphone will have access to high-speed internet through the GSM operators, and then IPv6 will really make sense in Pakistan. So this is just one example. So you might have heard that PTCL is offering वीडियो की एक सर्विस ऑफर कर रहे हैं जिसको कहते हैं वो संतरी, राइट? तो उसमें वो वीडियो कैमरा लगा देते हैं. That video camera has an IP address. It requires an IP address, and it needs a public IP address so that you can access that feed from anywhere. So there are home appliances that requires IP addresses as well. Comcast is one of the biggest cable operators in globally, and they have deployed IPv6 in their production network, and they are not offering IPv6 services to their customers, but they have around 20 million customers in America, and they configured IPv6 just to manage the set-top boxes that they are offering. So 20 million set-top boxes, you can imagine how many IPv4, we don't have that much IPv4 address space available at that time to handle the set-top box management. So they deployed IPv6 just to manage the set-top boxes, right? So
sorry to interrupt you. There's Ali Raza from Higher Education. I submit my apologize to the speaker of from NUST SEECS. मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि आपकी जो पिक्चर है वो काफी ज्यादा ब्लर आ रही है. सो अगर नस्ट के कोई टेक्निकल पर्सन है वो अगर कैम को या तो जूम आउट कर लें क्योंकि शायद बहुत ज्यादा जूम इन हुआ हुआ है और ब्लर आ रही. दैट्स फाइन.
Going through the statistics that are available, and I found out that in calendar year 2000, the internet population was around 360 million, right? And in June 2010, it's almost 2 billion, right? So the address space is 4 billion, and not all the 4 billions are going to be utilized. And 1.9 billion of the internet users that we have, that we are seeing on the internet, so there's only 28% penetration of total population, right? So there is a demand. Even with existing populations, more IPs will be required as more internet proliferation will happen. And I was also going through the distribution of which regions, Asia being the most populated area, they are the most common users of internet, heavily users of internet. And I think it's mostly thanks to China, India and Pakistan.